Mohammed bin Salman wants a $2 trillion valuation. He may take 1.6, while the street is as low as $1 trillion. We want to turn now to Anish Kapadia, Palissy Advisors, also joining us in London. So, Anish, you're one of the more pessimistic with a $1 trillion valuation. Why so low? What do you see?
Good afternoon. We at Palissy Advisors have done a very detailed analysis of Saudi Aramco. We've built our own proprietary model and looked at it both on a bottom-up valuation basis and also a comparative basis versus the other key large cap oil and gas companies, the super majors, the national oil companies. And when we look at it in both of those ways, we see a base case valuation of around $1 trillion. So looking at it based on a $60 oil price long term, a 10% discount rate, we get to around that $1 trillion valuation. If you look at it on financial metrics, such as cash flow metrics, we also think relative to peers, around $1 trillion valuation is fair from a market perspective.
Well, we saw some concessions that came in. Part of it's lowering the royalties to the government. Part of it is trying to entice retail investors to come in. Is there anything that then Saudi Aramco can do on the concession basis to sort of up your valuation?
So I think Saudi has made the investment case more friendly to international investors by reducing the royalties. Also, it's taken down some tax rates for certain business lines. I think also in terms of the retail investors, it's giving some bonus shares to them. It's probably helping out in terms of giving them bank credit to buy the shares. So I think there's a way that Saudi Aramco can get a higher valuation, certainly in the domestic market, by creating a limited amount of supply.
So part of that's the dividend. And if you take a look at, say, how its dividend at a $1.6 trillion dollar valuation stacks up to other oil companies, it's still but 4.7%. That really pales in comparison to other names like, say, Exxon. What's your confidence in the ability for them to continue holding on to that dividend if oil prices, say, go below 50 or near 50?
Well, it's interesting when you look at the dividend for Saudi Aramco. I think that's the main thing that they've put out there to try and entice the international investors. It's a high dividend when you think about the yield at a lower valuation, but at the valuation that they're going for, as you say, it actually is a lower yield than some of the super majors, some of the other national oil companies. And also, it's paying out virtually all its cash flow in dividends, whereas other companies have got cash flow left over for buybacks or deploying that cash flow elsewhere. To grow that dividend, you really need to see higher oil prices or higher production. So you need to take a bet on that to see higher dividends in the future.
And then to round it out, we hear Bloomberg broke this week that perhaps Chinese companies were going to be interested, pension funds were going to be interested. What do you make of that and the potential for, say, Russia to also buy into this IPO?
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Saudi government to want to get some of the large oil producing governments or national oil companies to invest in the company, because what you're seeing is Saudi Aramco investing in downstream projects in a lot of those countries, in China, for example, in India, in the Far East. And I think what the government then expects in return is that some of those national oil companies or those governments will put money into the Aramco IPO and try and support a higher valuation.